This lesson is an introduction to geometric proofs, and we'll be looking at the properties of congruence. Properties of congruence are closely related to the properties of equality. So let's have a chart, property on the left and an example on the right, and we'll start with the reflexive property of congruence. Now, the reflexive property of equality says any number is equal to itself. But when we're talking about geometric proofs, we're going to say that some geometric object, maybe angle A, is congruent to itself. So angle A is congruent to angle A. That's the reflexive property of congruence. Let's move on to the symmetric property of congruence. And this one basically says if you know two things are congruent, you can read that congruent statement from left to right or right to left. So if angle A is congruent to angle B, then angle B is congruent to angle A. The transitive property of congruence. If angle A is congruent to angle B, and angle B is congruent to angle C. So if those two pieces are given, then we can conclude angle A is congruent to angle C. And that one is the transitive property of congruence. We have an example where we will be using the angle addition postulate. There's a diagram. We are asked to solve for x. We can see that there's angle AOC. It has a measure of 48 degrees that looks like it's given information. Looks like ray OB is splitting up that angle into two smaller angles. And the angle addition postulate, if you are not familiar with it, says if point B lies in the interior of angle AOC, then the measure of angle AOB plus the measure of angle BOC is equal to the measure of angle AOC. And we can think of it like part plus part equals whole. So to solve for x, we're going to start with a two-column proof, statement and reason. And what we're going to do is write an equation where we're going to apply the angle addition postulate. So the part that has the expression 2x plus 1 plus the other part, x minus 1, is equal to 48. That is the angle addition postulate. We are going to combine like terms on the left-hand side of the equation. So 3x is equal to 48. The reason is we have simplified or combined like terms. Now we're going to divide by 3 to both sides of the equation. And that is the division property of equality allows us to do that. That's our reason for dividing by 3 to both sides. And now we're going to simplify and solve for x. We get that x is equal to 16. We have simplified. So we didn't use any geometric properties of congruence, but we are using what we know about solving algebraic proofs with this geometry example. Now let's look at another example, this time involving the segment addition postulate. Notice the diagram, and we have what looks like line segment NK. Looks like there's points M and point L on that segment, and each piece is labeled in terms of the length, and the overall length of segment NK is 23 units. Segment addition postulate says if C is between A and B, then AC plus CB is equal to AB. Again, part plus part equals whole. We'll start with our two-column proof, and the statement that we're going to write first will be justified by the segment addition postulate. So we're going to write an equation. X minus 6 plus 9 plus 2x minus 19 is equal to 23. The reason is the segment addition postulate. Now we can combine our like terms on the left. X plus 2x is 3x. And then those three integers, when you combine them together, is going to be negative 16. So 3x minus 16 is equal to 23. Reason, simplify or combine like terms. Now we're trying to solve for x, and we can use inverse operations to do that. So the opposite of subtracting 16 is adding 16 to both sides. This equation is going to become 3x is equal to 3x is equal to 39, because I added 23 plus 16. That's the addition property of equality. And your last step, undo what's happening to the variable x. It's being multiplied by 3. Let's divide by 3 to both sides, giving us x is equal to 13. That is our solution. And the reason why we can do that is we've used the division property of equality. So to summarize everything, let's take 1 minute and summarize something from this lesson that you learned.